The city of Orynbor, this ancient city which was founded in 1735, is always in the memory of Kazakh people, because it is the first capital of Kazakh country within the Soviet Union. It functioned as the capital from 1920 till 1925. From that time a century had passed, but still every building reveals the secrets of that historical period. There are many such places in the city. Especially this building takes an important place in the formation of Kazakhstan as a state, because it is precisely this building which hosted the first and the second All-Kazakh Congresses. The representatives of national intellectuals such as Ahmet Baytursinov, Mirjak Abdulatov, Alikhan Bokikhanov formed the Ala-Shorda government and raised the issue of forming the national autonomy. In Orynbor, the house at the 7 Yaitskaya Street, where distinguished Alash figures lived, is still preserved. Presently, the generation of those forefathers lives in the lands of Orynbor, which is now part of the Russian Federation. I still remember in my childhood that my father kept telling me that there was a doctor in our clan. I didn't believe it. Moreover, I didn't know about it. I thought, how could there be a doctor among Kazakhs? Maybe he was some kind of a voodoo doctor. Amirjan Kulbayisov had found out later that he was a grandson of one of the leaders of Ala-Shorda. In 2003, a woman from the Atirau State University called him and said that he was a descendant of a scientist, a Dr. Halil Dosmuhamedov. She asked if I had known that I was a grandson of the national hero of Kazakhstan, Halil Dosmuhamedov. First, I didn't believe her. She knew that my father's name was Magajan and my grandfather's name was Kulbayis. I knew that we had a surname Kulbayisov after our grandfather, but we didn't know his surname. Then that woman on the phone said that his surname was Dosmuhamedov. Halil and Kulbayis were brothers. Halil Dosmuhamedov was one of the persons who cared for the welfare of people. The descendant of the Dr. Amirjan Kulbayisov graduated the Imperial Military Medical Academy in St. Petersburg and actively participated in social sphere. Also, he studied in Medical Academy. Presently, he works in one of the hospitals of Orynbor as Deputy Chief Doctor and Head of the Department of Pulmonology. He's a medical postgraduate and was awarded with the title of a Governor, the Best Doctor of the Year. He's proud of being the successor of his forefathers' traditions. More than 10,000 Kazakhstanis live in the historical city where the preeminent persons of Ala-Shorda left the mark. According to the official data, the population of Orynbor city adds up to about 130,000 people. Particularly over the last years, the number of people who moved from villages to the city has increased. Kazakh people who live in villages send their children to study in cities. Young people enter institutes or academy, but they don't stay in villages. Most of them try to go to Kazakhstan to get education, because our Kazakh language is less studied here. In this connection, we'd like to ask for support from Kazakhstan to promote our Kazakh language. The language is the issue which troubles our compatriots in Russia. Presently, in 50 schools of Orynbor region, Kazakh language is taught as an additional course. However, according to Azamat Baydavletov, because of growing number of people who want to study, Kazakh quality suffers. That is why, with the aim to preserve the language, to disseminate traditions and culture, the first Kazakh National Society was formed in 1989. At present, there are 17 such organizations and they are being governed by the Orynbor Kazakh Association. From 1999 till 2005, the organization was headed by Azamat Abdimukhatuli. Now, the distinguished patriot of his nation is the president of Orynbor Regional Kazakh National Cultural Autonomy. He was born and grew up in the neighboring country, but in spite of this, he tries to teach his children national traditions and instills precious qualities of our people. They don't forget Kazakh generous hospitality and make a tradition to gather together with his family. In such a way, our ancient customs are passed down through generations. They host guests generously, they lay ak dastarkhan, prepare meat dishes. There is a new cultural complex, Ағайын, in a beautiful part of the city where all Kazakhs meet together, they associate with each other and revive the traditions of our forefathers. All Kazakhs gather in this village complex. They hold different celebrations and weddings here. Also, we come here to discuss issues of our joint work. We lay dastarkhan and have tea. The complex also includes cultural centers of other representatives of different nations. Among them, Kazakh plays an important role for Orynbor Kazakhs. There is a restaurant of Kazakh national cuisine, a museum, and a Janai Cup newspaper editorial office. Visitors to this museum have a chance to get acquainted with Kazakh national handicraft, jewelry, a saddle harness, clothes. Even more, you can meet dishes embroidered with national ornaments. These elders often come to this place where the spirit of Kazakh nation reigns. My parents lived in the Kaldigaiti village of Karatobe district in West Kazakhstan. They ran into difficulties and moved to Moscow. Finally, we stayed in Orynbor. 30 years have passed since we came here. We came from the West Kazakhstan. My parents lived in Orynbor for some time, then they returned to Kazakhstan again. My parents died there, but I decided to come back to Orynbor.
Адамның басы Алланың добы дейді ғой. Домалап бір уақытта мында келіп қалдық.
Енді мына ата-бабаларым туған жері Ойыл жақ. Ойылда тұрған ертеде.
The native land of my forefathers is Oyil village. Long ago, my grandfather Sepil was a rich man in Oyil, but he had only one son. My parents moved to Russia, and I was born here in this region. In 1973, I came to this city. I married, my children were born, and they live here.
Мен осы мына туған жерім осы облыс болып тұр. Енді мына қалаға келгеніме 73-те келіп едім осы қалаға. Армиядан келіп, сосын қалаға келгесін осы қалада тұрып қалдым. Осы қалада үйленіп, енді балдарым осы қалада туып, осы қалада өсіп жатыр. Екі жорға селкілде
Altin Sharipkazi spent her childhood in Taysoygan village in the Atara region. In 1956, after she had graduated from the university, she married, and in 1963 she moved with her family to Orynbor. Even though more than 50 years had passed, Altin Sharipkazi vividly remembers the years when she married, which passed in her native land. She still feels nostalgia.
Қазақстан маған осы мамам сияқты ыстық. Мына мал доғдыры болып осында келіп істедім, сонда мал доғдыры болып істедім.
I love Kazakhstan as much as I love my mother. When I married, I always wanted to see my mother because she lived far away from me. I went to a railway station after I impounded cattle. I got on a train and went to my mother so that my husband suspected nothing. In the morning I came back.
Сонда ана линияға шығып алып, ана су пойыздарды күтіп тұрам. Сонда тек барып, мамамның қасына бір қонып, ертеңіне тек қашқым келді. Енді күйеуім көріп қалмасын деп. Сонда да күйеуім не рұқсат беріп жүрді, барып келіп жүрдік, бірақ.
Orynbor is the native land of these young people. They are notable for their education, knowledge and energy. They are the members of regional social organization of Kazakh youth, Ағайын. With the aim to gather all Kazakh young people in the organization, they glorify national values and native language. The number of citizens who express an interest in the work of active youth is increasing. This made the organization reach the level of large-scale events. For a short period of time, they had held a contest, Kazakh Beauty of Orynbor, Kazakh Jigit, different concerts, evenings where poems and songs of Kazakh writers are read. Also, they represent a concert program on Nowruz holiday, which is celebrated annually. Social organizations were set up in every region of Russia following the example of Kazakh youth in Orynbor. Presently, 6 organizations still function. They are actively involved in the city and regional events as well as in the international events.
У нас в Оренбурге проходят 2 российско-казахстанских форума.
2 Russian-Kazakh forums, Neighbors and the Bridge, are held in Orynbor. Youth from Kazakhstan and other regions come to participate. Apart from these forums, we have good relationships. For example, we cooperate with youth organizations Kenes from Aktobe. We always keep visiting each other. Nurlan Munjasarov is one of such active youths. At present, he is a deputy of Orynbor City Council. He is the only Kazakh among 29 deputies. In 2003, upon graduation from Orynbor State Teacher Training University, he began his career in the school of Sarmaski region. He was the first secretary of Regional Young Communist Committee and gained people's confidence. Nurlan Nurmaganbetovich from student days became a member of Communist Party of the Russian Federation and was actively involved in public life. Now he is the youngest deputy in the council. That is why he considers it his civil duty to give support to his young followers and surely to Kazakh youth.
Непосредственно участвовали в турнире Кубка нации, это порядка 32 народностей города Оренбург.
There is the Nations Cup tournament held among representatives of more than 32 nations which live in Orynbor city or in related regions. Last year the Kazakh team had won the tournament. This year we visited Volgograd. There was a small tournament with the participation of Ural and Volgograd Kazakhs. But we needed a financial support and we addressed with a request to city administration and they helped us to arrange the trip.
Там небольшой, правда, турнир был, волгоградские казахи участвовали, уральские казахи.
Orynbor is the cultural, art and literature oasis. It is the city where the first edition of social, political and literary cultural newspaper Kazakh was published. This newspaper, which was issued from 1913 until 1918, became the light of Alash persons. This building, where distinguished representatives of Kazakh intellectuals such as Ahmed Baytursinov, Alikhan Bukikhanov, Mirzak Abdulatov, Mustafa Shokai, Khalil Dosmuhamedov, carried an important value in the history of Kazakhs because here they published their articles. Presently the newspapers Zhana Aikap and Bayterek are published. As Ahmed Baytursinov had said, these periodicals, which are the eyes, the ears and the tongue of people, provide citizens of the region with the right information.
Орынбор өңірінде мысалға 90 жылдың басынан Айқап газеті шығып келе жатқан.
From 1990, the newspaper Айқап has been published. Then, in 2010, it was decided to issue one more informational newspaper by Terek. Now, Bayterek justifies its name. Within 3 years, it has amassed more than 1,000 readers.
Қариялармен сөйлесіп, ақылдасып, енді бір газет бар жерінде, бір ақпарат бар жерде тағы да бір газет шықса, кедергі болмас деп, Байтерек деп атадық бұл газетті. Бағдарлама дейді ме, ақпарат дейді ме. Енді Байтерегіміз шын мәнінде Байтерек. Оқырмандарымыз көп, мыңнан асқан.
Образно можно условно разделить газету на три блока.
The newspaper has 3 parts. The first part includes coverage of cultural events of the Orynbor region. The second part covers materials in the Kazakh language, which we borrow from our colleagues from the Ағайын newspaper. And the third part has been an obligatory part for 3 years. It includes traditions and customs of Kazakh people.
Осы қазақша газет шыққасын кішкене қуанып жүрміз.
We're happy to have such a Kazakh newspaper. Even if it is written in Russian, it is written about Kazakh life. Some materials come from Kazakhstan.
Өздеріміз қазақты деген қалай тұрады, соны жазып тұр. Материал Қазақстанда да келеді. Кім қазақша біледі, солар оқиды. Бәрі деген солар
Most people learn the language from their grandparents. I didn't study the language, but my grandparents taught me, and I'm thankful for that. Orynbor borders with the regions of Kazakhstan such as Kostanay, Akhtubinsk and West Kazakhstan. Kazakh singers, dancers and artists give performances on a tour in Orynbor and bring pleasure to our compatriots. According to Gulsum Doskalinova, the director of art agency Bayterek, such performances make contribution to cultural development of relations and cooperation of the two countries.
Сағынады, өте сағынады. Мында енді біз көбіне орысшалап сөйлейміз ғой.
Our ethnic Kazakhs miss their homeland. Here we speak mostly in Russian. Our children also speak Russian. When we hear our native language songs played on the Dombra cues, it makes our hearts sick. Our Kazakhs try to hold all celebrations, including weddings, according to Kazakh traditions. Brides wear Kazakh national wedding gowns. Kazakh songs are sung, Kazakh dances are performed. We organize everything on our own. They don't live in Kazakhstan, but in spite of this, they express great esteem for Kazakh forefathers and motherland. At present, there are many educated citizens among them. Ethnic Kazakhs respect precious values of our nation and feel love for their native land.
Қазақ елім гүлдей берсін.
I wish prosperity to our Kazakhstan. I'm the chairperson of the Union of Islamic Women. I often visit Kazakhstan. I sell tickets to concerts. I even go to remote villages. I invite people to our concerts and I love to be in Kazakhstan among my compatriots. Really, we miss too much. I wish ethnic Kazakhs in every country could communicate with one another. Orynbor is the first capital of Kazakhstan, isn't it? Then why don't we have any theatres? We have sponsors. Let us say that we can begin building the theatre today. Kazakh or Orynbor investors should leave mark in this city. I think Almaty citizens also try to build more houses and theatres. To build a theatre here means to leave an imprint for the next generations. We visit Kazakhstan sometimes on business trips. Kazakhstan is a rapidly growing state, and we Kazakhs are overwhelmed with pride for our Kazakhs when we watch TV reports about our native land.
Спутникті қарағанда көкіреміз көтереді,
Ағайын.